If you've ever felt like you're on a hamster wheel in real estate and maybe you're burned out from flipping or wholesaling houses, you are frustrated by chasing deals every single month, or maybe you're overwhelmed by all the opportunities out there, then look, I want you to lean in because I'm gonna walk you through the 10 biggest reasons why I left a 7-figure real estate wholesaling business to go all in with self-storage, and why this just might be the best asset class that you've never seriously considered. Now, this episode is gonna change the direction of your business and maybe even your life, so I want you to dive in. Now, my name's Alex Pardo. I am the host of the Storage Wins podcast. Before we get into today's topic, if you haven't had an opportunity and you haven't checked out the first couple of episodes, go back and listen to those after these, because I share my journey from a burned out wholesaler to experiencing freedom. And I lay the foundation for what this podcast and this movement is all about. But today, I want to just take a step back. I want to zoom out, because if you're like I was just several years ago, then success on paper wasn't really what it was all cracked up to be, right? Like, you might be feeling frustrated behind the scenes, but yet on the exterior, you might appear to be a success to others. If you've ever experienced that, or maybe you're going through that right now, then this episode is going to give you some clarity. It's going to give you direction, and maybe even the permission and the confidence to pursue something bigger and better. I want to start this episode really with a story. Because it's interesting, my wife and my in-laws love the Cheesecake Factory. Me, not so much. So I don't know if you have Cheesecake Factory where you live or if you've ever been there, but if you've ever sat down and had the waiter at a Cheesecake Factory hand you a menu, it is an absolute monster. I'm talking like novel size menu. There are about 417 pages. There's about 1,317 options of things you can order. Obviously, I'm being very, very facetious, but point is, it's a big menu. And my family always kind of laughs at me because I have this thing that when I get to restaurants sometimes, I'll ask the waiter to strike up a conversation. I'll ask them for their opinion. I'll say, hey, between this and this, what do you suggest? And they always kind of like poke fun of me, and they're like, why do you ask that question when like they have a particular palate and they like what they like and it might not be what you like? And it's a fair point, but I think more than anything, it's just the opportunity to strike up a conversation with a complete stranger and just kind of have a back and forth, right? But even though I've eaten at the Cheesecake Factory, I can't even tell you how many times, every time I stare at that menu, I feel stuck, right? There's so many choices. There's so many options. And eventually I'll just ask the waiter, like, dude, what do you recommend, man? They're like, oh, is this your first time? I'm like, no, I've probably been here 17,000 times, but there's just so many options. And you know, deep down inside, I think people just want help making a decision. And when there's so many options, they tend to get paralyzed, right? Now, this story is maybe just a microcosm, I think, of what sometimes people feel when they get into real estate, or even people that have been in real estate for a long time, right? Everyone is selling you a different dish and a different opportunity. I'm talking from wholesaling houses to fix and flips to rentals and Airbnbs and land and development, multifamily, office, retail, co-living, assisted living. I mean, there are so many avenues and paths that you can take to make more money, to generate cash flow, and to build wealth. You know, I think flipping through real estate is kind of like a Cheesecake Factory menu, and trying to choose all these different options. You have so many options that you have a lack of clarity. And when you have a lack of clarity, you either don't take action, or when you do take action, you doubt yourself. Right? So today I want to be the waiter for you. I want to show you the one dish that has completely changed everything for me and the lives of coaching clients that I have the privilege of working with now inside of our Storage Wins coaching program and inside of our community. Now, it's simple, it's scalable. I like to use the word semi-passive because I don't really truly believe in anything passive per se. And it's surprisingly safe, and that is self-storage. Self-storage, I believe, hands down, it's the best asset class in real estate. But don't take my word for it. Let me just share with you 10 reasons, the top 10 reasons why I chose self-storage over multifamily, over all these other asset classes that I just mentioned, and why you might want to consider it as well. Okay. Now, here's one thing that I will quickly share with you before I dive into the top 10. And I'm going to start from 10 all the way down to 1. When I got into self-storage, I thought I needed to do a complete pivot, right? And so I just shut down the wholesaling business. I sold off some of the assets of that business and I transitioned into storage. Knowing what I know now, if you're out there and you're listening and you have a wholesaling business or a fix and flip business, you don't have to shut that down. Why? Because a lot of the skill sets that you have acquired as a real estate investor or as a business owner, or even in your W-2 job, will translate over into storage. So let me go ahead and start with number 10. Number 10 is that storage is a real business. It's not another job. Okay, you don't get into real estate to buy yourself another job, but that's exactly what happened to me when I got into the wholesaling business back in late 2005. Well, storage is different. What's evidence of that? My very first storage deal, a 43,000 square foot facility that I bought in Mississippi, I got an 85% SBA loan. In other words, I bought that facility for 1.592, just under 1.6 million, and I was able to go to SBA, the Small Business Administration, and get a loan for 85% of that purchase price. Why? Because SBA lends money to business owners and for businesses. Self-storage is a business. It's different. It's not wholesaling or flipping houses. I had a portfolio up until recently of 800 plus units in my self-storage portfolio, and I ran that with a laptop and no employees. A laptop and no employees. And by the way, these facilities are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away. So right before I sold off about 80,000 square feet of my storage portfolio, I was spending maybe an hour and a half per week managing that portfolio. Now, that is less time that I spent dealing with just 4 single family rentals. Because when I started to get burned out of wholesaling, I thought that my path to cash flow and wealth building was going to be building a rental portfolio. And by the time I got to the 4th rental, I quickly realized this is not the best way to generate cash flow and build wealth. So I sold off that portfolio and have just been focusing on self-storage ever since. Number 9, and by the way, at the end, I'm going to recap the top 10. Do not fast forward to listen to the top 3. I want you to listen because I got some stories you're going to want to hear. Number 9, storage is way easier than people think. Oftentimes when I talk to people that are interested in getting involved in storage, they are intimidated by the asset class because of the size of the buildings and because of the belief that they feel they need to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to go buy these self-storage facilities. People hear the word storage and they think it's some huge commercial endeavor, but here's the truth. If we were going to simplify it, we rent space, right? The space contained inside of metal boxes. We are not dealing with tenants. We're not dealing with toilets. We're not dealing with trauma or drama. And we're not really dealing with trash either. So we can avoid the 4 T's: tenants, toilets, trauma, and trash. And you don't need to be a genius. Trust me, I'm not a genius. I'm just a regular dude who has kind of figured out a process and a roadmap, which now I'm sharing and teaching others in our Storage Wins community. And that's what people are missing. They're missing a roadmap. They're missing a process and a game plan to plug into. And this is something that you can start part-time. Oftentimes people ask me, like, how much time do I need to devote to storage? And generally speaking, it's going to vary, but I share with people, if you have 10 dedicated hours a week, that is sufficient time to gain progress and momentum in this business. And right now I'm coaching clients doing that very thing with 9-to-5 jobs. I just had a coaching client close on his first storage facility with running another business, a job. And so whether you're a W-2 warrior or a real estate investor, you can absolutely do this on the side. But here's the warning. Eventually, you're going to want to do this full time. That's the cool thing about storage. Number 8 is the customers stay, and they stay for a long time. I always say storage is a very sticky asset class. So the average customer at my facility stayed just over 2 years. Why? Because think of the pain of disconnect. Think of the pain involved to move all of your personal belongings into let's just say a 10 by 20 unit. And then think about what it would take to move all of your stuff out. You gotta rent a truck or a moving company, and you gotta spend money on that. You have to maybe bother friends and family. You have to take an entire weekend, deal with logistics. You have to actually the physical labor of moving this stuff. So it's either going to cost you time, money, energy, bandwidth, sometimes all the above. And so what do? People stay and they pay their $50 to $350 a month, sometimes for years. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with friends and people that have reached out to me wanting to get involved and plugged into our Storage Wins community that tell me, I'm a customer of storage. Like, I have my stuff in a storage facility and I'll always ask them, like, how long have you been there? Generally speaking, the answer is sometime between 1 and 4 years. And so that it is not uncommon when people move into storage that they tend to stay for a while, especially if you're providing a safe, clean, well-lit facility with good customer service. And that's very simple to do. Now, what happens if somebody doesn't pay? If they don't pay their 75 or 150 bucks a month, well, I don't have to go through a long, drawn-out eviction process like I would with my single-family rental portfolio. I don't have to spend thousands of dollars. In fact, in storage, we have something called lien laws, which means that depending on where the facility is located, let's just say within a 60 to 70-day window, as long as we follow a certain process, we auction off the contents of the unit, we recoup some money, and we have our boots on the ground, broom sweep the unit, put it back online to be able to rent it to somebody else, right? So no court, no eviction attorneys, no drama. Number 7, and this is a big one, storage has the lowest default rate inside of commercial real estate. So during the financial crisis, the great financial crisis, storage was the lowest defaulting asset class. During COVID, storage exploded. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, why? Why is storage considered such a recession-resistant asset class? Well, we're talking about a $50, $100, a $200 monthly expense. We're not talking about a $1,500 rent or mortgage or a $3,000 rent or mortgage. Some of you might be listening saying, Alex, where can I get a $1,500 mortgage, right? It's crazy the average median price of a home right now and what the monthly mortgage is with today's interest rates. So when life gets messy, unfortunately, when people get divorced or they have a job change or they're downsizing, guess what people don't want to get rid of? They don't want to get rid of their stuff. People, especially Americans, are very attached to their belongings. So what do when they downsize? They store it. And we are happy to provide that space for them. So that is number 7. Number 6, I just touched on it. I kind of teased you on it. It's a recession resistant and what I like to say, a boom-proof asset class. Okay, so when the economy's doing well, people are buying more toys, they need a place to store them. Take a look at what boat and RV storage did during COVID, right? It absolutely exploded. People were just buying toys and cars and jet skis and things, and they needed a place to store it, so they rented storage. When the economy's bad, and by the way, depending on who you talk to, we're heading into a recession or we're in a recession. When the economy's bad, people downsize and they need a place to store what won't fit. I personally know of people that have gone from a 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot, 4,000 square foot house into a 2-bedroom condo that's 1,500 square feet, but they're attached to their things. So they go store for 100, 150, 200 bucks a month. And chances are they will be storing it for years. Sometimes I have conversations with people and I'll ask them, like, do you even know what's in your storage unit? And they're like, I have an idea, but not really, because they haven't been there in a while. So we don't have the constant foot traffic happening at apartment buildings and other places where people live, like condominiums, duplexes, fourplexes, triplexes. In storage, you don't really have, unless it's a business owner, typically speaking, you don't have them coming in and out of the facility on a daily basis. They might go once a week, once a month, once a quarter, sometimes even once a year. So to recap number 6, in both up markets and in down markets, the demand for storage goes up. So you really can't lose if you're buying in the right market and you're buying it right, which in this podcast and in this season, we're going to be diving really, really deep into it. So make sure you're subscribed to the Storage Wins podcast so that you're notified every single week with new episodes. That's my quick plug. All right. Number 5. ridiculous profit margins. Storage is a mean and lean business, okay? A typical operating expense ratio in the storage business is 30 to 40%, depending on the market, depending on the size of the facility, meaning 60 to 70% of that revenue drops to the bottom line, what we call the net operating income. If you were to compare that to multifamily, where the operating expense ratio is 45, 50, 55%, it just means the margins aren't as great with multifamily or single family, where you're probably looking at 40, 45% operating expense ratio. Those margins tend to get squeezed up fast. The difference is with those asset classes, you got toilets and you got plumbing and you got electrical and you got people that are living there, which complicates it. Things break, they have to get fixed. Money has to get poured into that asset to keep it in really, really good conditions. Where in storage, we rent space. Again, no toilets, no tenants, no trauma, no trash. So I would say generally speaking, the money that we need to put into these facilities, sometimes it's just a one-time expense, but we don't really deal with significant repairs. Every now and then we might have to fix a hasp or a spring or a door, but it's pretty basic, minimal stuff. If you know me, I've been involved in real estate since late 2005. I have done my fair share of fix and flip deals, and I am not a very good rehabber. I just don't enjoy it. Another reason I absolutely love storage. So number 5 is the profit margins are very, very healthy. Number 4, and this is so big, we get to do something called forced appreciation. So we can force appreciation like a boss. In storage, the value of the business, the value of the facility is based on the income that asset produces. It's not based on comparable sales like we talk about with single family or residential homes. If you raise the rents and you add what we call fee income, admin fees, lock fees, late fees, auction fees, tenant protection or tenant insurance, and if we improve the operations, which in our roadmap and in our process, that's exactly what we do, is look at these value add opportunities, then you are instantly increasing the value of the facility. And it's not like flipping a house where you're spending $20,000 to $30,000 or more. With storage, you can raise the net income $10,000 and increase the value of that facility 6 figures. Talking $100,000, $150,000 or more when you factor in and apply a cap rate. And we'll talk about what all that means on a future episode. Number 3, and now we've kind of gotten into the top 3 here, low competition, and it's a high entry point. So what do I mean by that? Well, very few people know how to find and fund storage deals, especially mom and pop facilities in the markets that I prefer to look at, tertiary markets, secondary markets. That's exactly what I teach our Storage Wins members and my students on, how to spot the signs of a motivated storage seller, how to quickly analyze these deals and understand what you should be offering, what the facility is worth, what it could be worth, and then how to fund them without using your own money, using other people's money. And there's so many different ways to structure these deals. So if you get nothing out of this podcast episode, but you walk away with the belief and the confidence that you can do this business, even if you don't have money or experience, then trust me when I tell you it is a huge win. Take that W home with you. Most people think you need millions or even hundreds of thousands. You don't. You need a process. You need a roadmap. You need a strategy and a community that is going to lift you up. It's going to pour into you. That's going to give you the support. So with that being said, if that's you and you know this is something you want to do, I want to encourage you to head over to storagewins.com. And if I like what you have to say, we'll hop on a quick call, share with you what we have going on, and just see if it's a fit to work together. So that was number 3. Number 2, storage scales without scaling chaos. Do you know how many real estate investors throughout the years I have talked about, and inevitably the conversation about scale, that word scale comes up, and I would probably say 9 out of 10 times these real estate investors are scaling chaos. And when you scale chaos, what do you get? You get more chaos. Now in storage, you can do 10x the revenue without 10xing your headaches. One of the things I look for in a business is a low headache factor. I'm looking for high margin, low overhead, low headache factor. And look, I know what it's like to grow and scale a wholesaling business. At one point, we were spending $40,000 to $45,000 a month in expenses. We were sending out 30 to 40,000 postcards. We had the office and the team and the systems, and I felt stuck. Right, the more I scaled, the bigger I got, the tighter my margins became, the more stress I got. I had to manage more people and deal with a lot that comes with managing a big team. And storage changed that for me, right? It's the only asset class where scale actually reduces the stress instead of adding to it, right? I had, up until recently, I had over 838 units across 104,000 square feet with no employees. And I could have doubled that portfolio, not necessarily needed to have added an employee, which is amazing. Number one, storage can give you your life back. It can help you buy back your time, like Dan Martell talks about. And that's just one. I've just shared with you 10, and by the way, I have more, but it wouldn't have sounded as cool if I would have said, hey, here's the top 12 ways. No, these are the top 10 ways. So number one, it can give you your life back. These are the reasons I chose self-storage. Yes, the numbers make sense. The data has to check out, but this isn't about complicated spreadsheets. It's about waking up without anxiety. It's about investing into yourself now so that it can pay in the short, mid, and long term. Having the ability to travel, spend time with your family, your kids, your loved ones, giving back, impacting, living a legacy. Like, these are just some of the reasons people have come inside of the Storage Wins community, is because they want more out of life. And this business can do that. And it's not complicated. So these are just some of the reasons I chose storage, and our Storage Wins community members chose storage. At the end of the day, it's about freedom. It's about financial freedom. It's about time freedom. So look, if you're happy grinding and chasing deals, like, hats off to you. Single family was a great business for me because it was a cash generator. What I want to encourage you to do is, if that's you, make sure that you're taking that cash and putting it into cash flow producing assets, a real business like storage. So if you love being the operator, the marketer, the closer, the acquisitions rep, the dispositions person, the fire putter outer, right? i.e. the arsonist, then stay where you are. Like, it's all good because you can make money in pretty much any niche within real estate. But if you're ready to own the business instead of the business owning you, if you're looking for a smarter, a simpler way to build wealth, then I want to personally invite you, go to storagewins.com, where I'm helping people just like you find, fund, and buy their very first cash flow storage facility. So go ahead and book a discovery call, and we'll map out how you can buy your first facility in the next 6 to 12 months using our proven roadmap, even if you don't have any experience or capital. And look, full disclaimer, this is not for everybody. There is a significant investment to be a part of our community, and that is for a reason, because this works, and you're not very many deals away from this changing your situation and possibly changing your life. But look, if you're the kind of person who you're serious, you're coachable, you're committed, you're ready to create time freedom, we'd potentially love to work with you if you're the right fit. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. Either way, I'm going to continue to show up here every single week. I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to share what's working, what's not working. You're going to hear from me. You're going to hear from our Storage Wins community members. You're going to hear deals, actual case study breakdowns of deals that we're closing, deals that we're selling, what's working inside the operations of the business, what's not. I will bring you the good, the bad, and everything in between. So just hit subscribe. Make sure that you are plugged into the podcast. Make sure that you're plugged into the YouTube channel, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because this is something that I truly, truly believe can be a game changer if you just give yourself an opportunity. So with that being said, I want to connect with you on the next one. I'm super pumped for what I'm going to be sharing with you in the upcoming podcast and videos and everything I have going on. So just make sure that you're plugged in to my content. Until then, stay curious, take massive imperfect action, do that consistently over time, and go build a life of freedom.